Pause for a moment, my dear, and breathe. The world has been loud with its expectations, impatient with your pace, and relentless in asking you to become more, do more, prove more. I want you to remember something simple before you continue rushing forward. You are allowed to stop without losing your worth. Stillness is not failure. Rest is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. When you were younger, before anyone told you who you should be, you had a quiet curiosity about the world. You observed before you spoke. You questioned what others accepted. You wondered why things were the way they were instead of assuming they always had to be that way. That curiosity is still inside you. Even if it feels buried under deadlines, responsibilities, and the heavy pressure to succeed quickly. Protect it. The world doesn't need you to become noisier, it needs you to remain thoughtful. People often believe strength looks like constant motion, like never slowing down, like enduring everything without complaint. But real strength has always been softer than that. It is the courage to sit with uncertainty. It is the patience to learn deeply instead of superficially. It is the resilience to keep going even when no one applauds your effort. Strength is quiet persistence long before it becomes visible success. You don't need permission to take your time. Some of the most extraordinary paths are built slowly, with careful steps that don't impress anyone at first. I've seen brilliance go unnoticed for years simply because it refused to conform to the timeline others expected. If you are walking a road that feels lonely, it doesn't mean you are lost. Often it means you are early. Let me tell you something important. Being different will cost you comfort, but it will give you purpose. There will be moments when fitting in feels tempting, when blending into the crowd seems easier than standing alone with your ideas. But the very things that make you feel out of place are often the same things that will allow you to change something meaningful. Don't dull yourself to make others comfortable. The world has enough echoes, it needs original voices. You will be misunderstood. Not occasionally, frequently. People may label you as unrealistic, strange, too intense, too quiet, too ambitious, or too stubborn. Let them. Labels say more about the observer than the observed. You are not required to explain your vision to those who cannot see beyond the present moment. Some people understand only what already exists. You are allowed to build what doesn't yet. Failure will visit you more than once. When it does, don't treat it as a verdict on your potential. Failure is information, not identity. It teaches you where assumptions were wrong, where preparation was thin, where courage wavered. If you listen carefully, failure will refine you rather than define you. What matters most is not how often you fall, but whether you learn how to stand back up with more wisdom than before. I know you worry sometimes about falling behind, about not being where you should be by now. Let me gently remind you that there is no universal schedule for a meaningful life. Some people bloom early and fade quietly. Others grow slowly and transform the landscape later. Comparison is a thief of joy and clarity. Measure yourself by your progress, not by someone else's highlight reel. There will be days when your confidence disappears without warning. You'll question your decisions, your abilities, even your sense of direction. On those days, don't make permanent judgments based on temporary emotions. Doubt is a visitor, not a resident. Let it speak, but don't hand it the keys to your future. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to move forward despite it. Remember that intelligence is not just about knowing answers, it's about asking better questions. Curiosity will take you further than certainty ever could. Stay open to learning, especially from unexpected places. Wisdom doesn't always come dressed as authority. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as a mistake, a child's question, or a moment of humility. You don't have to carry everything alone. Independence is admirable, but isolation is not the same as strength. Allow yourself to accept help, advice, and kindness without feeling diminished by it. Even the strongest minds need support, encouragement, and connection. Community doesn't weaken vision, it sustains it. Be careful not to confuse productivity with purpose. A full schedule doesn't always mean a fulfilled life. Ask yourself occasionally whether what you're building aligns with who you are becoming. Success without meaning can feel strangely hollow. Purpose, on the other hand, has a way of energizing you even when the work is hard. Your value is not measured by applause, titles, or achievements. Those things may come and go. What lasts is your integrity, your curiosity, your willingness to keep learning, and your courage to try again after disappointment. Don't let external validation become the foundation of your self-worth. Build that foundation quietly, internally, where it cannot be shaken by opinions. I want you to trust that your effort matters, even when results are slow. Growth often happens underground, invisible to everyone else. Roots deepen long before branches appear. Be patient with yourself during seasons that feel unremarkable. Transformation rarely announces itself while it's happening. When life feels overwhelming, return to simplicity. Ask yourself what truly matters right now. Often the answer is smaller than you think: one conversation, one idea, one honest attempt. You don't need to solve everything today. Focus on the next meaningful step, not the entire staircase, and above all, remember this: the world does not need a perfect version of you. It needs an authentic one. Flaws and all. Curiosity intact. Courage imperfect but persistent. If you stay true to that, you will build something far more valuable than success. You will build a life that feels honest. Pause again, just for a moment. You're doing better than you think. As you move forward, I want you to understand that impatience is often mistaken for ambition. True ambition is patient. It knows that meaningful work cannot be rushed without losing its soul. If you feel frustrated because progress seems slow, remind yourself that endurance outlasts urgency. The future rewards those who stay when others quit, those who refine their craft while others look for shortcuts. There will be times when your ideas feel too large for the room you're in. You may feel confined by systems that favor safety over imagination, predictability over possibility. Don't let that make you bitter. Learn what you can where you are, even if the environment doesn't fully understand you. Every place teaches something, even if the lesson is simply what you don't want to become. You might notice that the more you think differently, the more resistance you encounter. That resistance is not a signal to retreat, it's evidence that you're pushing against the boundaries of what's familiar. New ideas always disturb old comfort. Progress rarely arrives politely. If you wait for universal approval, you will wait forever. Let yourself be a beginner as many times as necessary. Pride can be a subtle barrier to growth. Starting over does not erase your past efforts, it builds upon them. Each attempt sharpens your understanding. Each misstep refines your judgment. Wisdom is cumulative. Even when it feels like you're circling back, there will be moments when success finally touches your life, and with it will come a new set of challenges. Recognition can be just as destabilizing as obscurity. Praise can inflate expectations, distort priorities, and tempt you to perform rather than create. Stay grounded. Remember why you started before anyone was watching. Let your values remain louder than applause. I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. No matter how advanced your work becomes, don't let familiarity dull your curiosity. The moment you believe you have nothing left to learn is the moment growth stops quietly. Stay humble enough to be curious, confident enough to ask questions, and wise enough to listen. You will encounter criticism that stings, sometimes unfairly so. Some of it will be helpful, some will be careless. Learn to tell the difference. Accept feedback that challenges you to grow, but release judgment that seeks only to wound. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your table. Take care of your body and mind as carefully as you take care of your ambitions. Burnout does not make you noble. Exhaustion is not a badge of honor. Rest sharpens insight. Balance preserves creativity. Your dreams deserve a version of you that is healthy enough to pursue them fully. Remember that fear often disguises itself as logic. It will tell you to wait until you're more prepared, more certain, more qualified. Preparation matters, but perfection is a myth. At some point, courage must step in where certainty cannot. Trust yourself enough to begin before you feel ready. You may worry about making the wrong choice, but most choices are not final. Life is more flexible than it appears. You can adjust, pivot, learn, and rebuild. What matters is not avoiding mistakes but avoiding stagnation. Motion, even imperfect motion, teaches you something valuable. Kindness will never slow you down. Treat people well, even when you don't need to. Success built without compassion can feel empty and fragile. The way you make others feel will outlast many of your accomplishments. Legacy is not only what you build, but how you build it. There will be moments when loneliness creeps in, even surrounded by people. Visionaries often walk ahead of understanding. If you feel unseen, remember that clarity often arrives later. Some connections form only when others catch up to where you've been all along. Allow yourself joy without guilt. You don't have to earn every moment of happiness through struggle. Celebration does not diminish discipline. Laughter does not weaken resolve. Life is not a constant test, it is also meant to be experienced. When doubt returns, and it will, anchor yourself to what you know rather than what you fear. You know that you can learn. You know that you can endure. You know that you have survived moments you once thought would break you. Let those truths ground you. Be mindful of what you consume, not just food, but information, voices, and expectations. What you surround yourself with shapes your thinking. Choose environments that challenge you without diminishing you. Protect your inner world with the same care you give to your external goals. I want you to understand that success does not erase vulnerability. Even those who appear confident and accomplished carry quiet uncertainties. You are not alone in your questions, even if they feel private. Humanity is far more shared than we often admit. Above all, keep moving forward with integrity. Shortcuts may offer speed, but they often demand pieces of yourself in return. Nothing worthwhile requires you to betray your values. Stay honest, even when it costs you temporarily. Integrity compounds over time. Pause again, just briefly. Notice how far you've come from where you started. Growth often feels invisible until you look back. Trust that the path you're walking is shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. There is something I want you to remember when the future feels uncertain and the present feels heavy. Clarity is not always a prerequisite for movement. Sometimes clarity follows action, not the other way around. You learn who you are becoming by stepping into experiences, not by waiting for complete understanding. Trust that each honest effort brings you closer to insight. You may feel pressure to define yourself clearly and permanently, as if identity must be fixed and finalized. But identity is allowed to evolve. You are not betraying your past by growing beyond it. The person you were needed to exist so the person you are becoming could emerge. Honor each version of yourself without clinging too tightly to any one of them. There will be moments when your mind moves faster than your surroundings. You will see possibilities others cannot yet imagine. This can feel isolating, even frustrating. When that happens, practice patience rather than resentment. Vision matures through dialogue, persistence, and time. Not everyone needs to understand immediately for progress to unfold. Discipline will carry you when motivation fades. Inspiration is beautiful, but unreliable. Build routines that support your goals even on days when passion is quiet. Consistency may not feel glamorous, but it builds foundations strong enough to support bold ideas. At times, you will wonder whether the sacrifices are worth it. The mist gatherings. The long nights, the weight of responsibility. Only you can answer that honestly. Make sure your sacrifices align with your values rather than with external pressure. Let them be chosen, not imposed. You will encounter moments where the world seems indifferent to your effort. When that happens, remind yourself that purpose does not require constant recognition. Some of the most important work happens quietly, without witnesses. Fulfillment often comes from knowing you tried sincerely, regardless of outcome. Be careful with envy. It disguises itself as inspiration but quietly erodes gratitude. Someone else's success does not diminish your potential. There is room for many paths, many victories, many ways to matter. Stay focused on your own lane. Comparison only clouds direction. Learn to sit with discomfort without immediately escaping it. Growth stretches you before it strengthens you. Unease often signals that you are learning something new. Don't rush to numb it or label it as failure. Stay present long enough to understand what it's teaching you. I hope you remember that creativity thrives in spaciousness. Overloading your life with constant noise and urgency can suffocate original thought. Make time for reflection, for wandering thoughts, for moments where nothing is demanded of you. Silence is fertile ground for insight. When opportunities arise, you may feel unqualified or unready. Accept them anyway if they align with your values. You grow into responsibility by carrying it, not by waiting until you feel completely prepared. Confidence often follows commitment. Forgive yourself more quickly. Harsh self-judgment does not improve performance, it only drains energy. Treat yourself with the same patience you would offer someone you care about. Compassion is not complacency, it is sustainable growth. Remember that leadership is not control, it is responsibility. If others look to you, lead with humility. Listen more than you speak. Create space for others to contribute their strengths. True leadership multiplies capability rather than hoarding it. You may find yourself grieving paths you didn't take. Versions of life that remain imaginary. That grief is natural. Acknowledge it without letting it anchor you. Every choice closes certain doors, but it opens others you could not access otherwise. There will be days when your mind feels cluttered with worry. On those days, return to basics. Eat well. Sleep. Move your body. Speak honestly with someone you trust. Complexity often untangles itself when you care for the fundamentals. Trust your inner compass, even when external voices are loud. Advice can be useful, but intuition carries information shaped by your unique experiences. Learn to distinguish between fear-driven hesitation and wisdom-driven caution. That discernment grows with practice. Be mindful of what success asks of you as it grows. Guard against arrogance and detachment. Stay connected to people and moments that remind you of your humanity. Achievement without grounding can feel strangely lonely. You are allowed to want more without being ungrateful. Ambition and appreciation can coexist. Desire does not mean dissatisfaction, it means curiosity about what is possible. Let gratitude anchor you while ambition pulls you forward. If ever you feel like giving up, rest instead. Exhaustion speaks louder than truth. Few decisions made at your lowest point reflect your highest potential. Pause, recover, and return when your perspective is clearer. Pause now, gently. You are still becoming. There is no rush to arrive. As you look ahead, understand that becoming is a lifelong process. There is no final version of you waiting at the end of the road, no moment when everything clicks permanently into place. Life unfolds in chapters, and each one asks something different of you. Release the pressure to have it all figured out. Wisdom grows through living, not through certainty. There will be seasons when progress feels invisible, when days blur together and nothing seems to change. Do not underestimate those seasons. They are shaping your patience, your character, your endurance. Quiet seasons teach lessons that loud victories cannot. Trust what is happening even when you cannot measure it. You may sometimes feel torn between practicality and imagination, between what is safe and what feels true. Balance them thoughtfully, but never silence your imagination to satisfy fear. The world moves forward because someone dared to imagine differently and then stayed long enough to make it real. Remember to remain gentle with yourself when you fall short of your own expectations. High standards can inspire excellence, but they can also become heavy if paired with self-criticism. Let standards guide you, not punish you. Growth responds better to encouragement than to shame. There will be people who walk beside you for only a portion of the journey. Release them with gratitude rather than resentment. Not every connection is meant to last forever, but each one leaves something behind: insight, strength, perspective. Carry the lesson, not the weight. As your responsibilities grow, don't lose your sense of play. Playfulness keeps the mind flexible and the heart open. Innovation thrives where curiosity and joy are allowed to coexist. Serious work does not require a serious soul at all times. You may be tempted to harden yourself against disappointment. Resist that urge. Sensitivity is not fragility, it is awareness. It allows you to notice subtle truths, unspoken needs, and hidden possibilities. Protect your sensitivity without letting it overwhelm you. When the world feels divided and uncertain, choose steadiness. You don't need to react to everything to matter. Thoughtful restraint is often more powerful than loud reaction. Calm minds build lasting solutions. Allow yourself moments of pride, not arrogance, but quiet acknowledgement of effort. You have endured more than you give yourself credit for. You have grown in ways that once seemed impossible. Let yourself recognize that without diminishing your hunger to learn more. If fear ever whispers that you are alone in this journey, remember that every person who has built something meaningful has faced moments of isolation. Connection often arrives after perseverance, not before it. Stay open, and when the noise of the world becomes too much, return to stillness. Breathe. Reconnect with what drew you forward in the first place. Purpose has a quiet voice, but it is steady. It does not shout, it waits. I want you to know that your worth is not conditional. It does not rise and fall with outcomes. You matter because you exist, because you try, because you care. Everything you build is an extension of that truth, not a replacement for it, so pause once more. Not to stop, but to remember who you are beneath the striving. Then continue, calmly and courageously, at your own pace. You are becoming something meaningful, not because the world demands it, but because you chose to try, and that, my dear, has always been enough.